All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the disc swap. We're on. Is it actually episode 8? Is that for real? Wow. So we've been a little less consistent of late, and we're apologetic for that. Well, I am at the very least because it's usually me that's the one that's like, screwing up. Anyway, episode 8, we're gonna be talking a lot about MGS1. So for that, we have a couple of guests who know a fair bit about the game. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Metal Glue Solid, primarily a PC runner, actually, so very interested to actually discuss the console side of things for a change.
Hi, I'm Kakusu Sora, known as Sora for short. I speedrun Metal Gear Solid on console, easy percent.
So there you go. We got
easy any percent.
We got someone who runs extreme PC. We got someone who runs easy any percent console. You know, we got the board covered. So to lead things off, how you guys been? How you doing?
Good.
I'm good. I'm doing alright.
So so I guess to lead things off, we have a lot of news regarding any percent console extreme. We've got a couple of guys who've been going back and forth the last week or so. Jaguar King and Plywood both have been pushing on the category pretty hard of late, and if speedrun.com would load, that'd be
I have
great.
it.
You have it? What's the current time down to?
So you're down to a 101.40 in-game time by Plywood with Big Boss, and that was just over a week ago on Japanese PSTV.
Right.
That's the current time.
And
that's
Jag
2 seconds behind him. So
yeah. So like I said, these guys have been pushing on the category a little more than usual of late. So we've got there's quite a few eyes on MGS1 right now. In fact, we've also got a couple of new runners.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm blanking on his name. He's in the Discord. He's in a bunch of our chats. Flynamix,
yeah, he's trying to break onto PC, I've noticed.
Yeah, he's been running PC Extreme from what I've seen. I myself have started dabbling a bit.
You've been dabbling on a lot of things in terms of Metal Gear. We started doing like PAL.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the PAL run.
The PAL meme run, yes.
The infamous PAL runs.
The one that lasted an hour and 18 minutes on a fairly actually decent run because PAL. And then there was and then I recently got the good version, and I've apologized to Sora already, but I've bopped her a bit. Yeah,
breaking up into that top 10.
I was top 10 for a while. I was top 10, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a bunch of speedrunners are like, "Oh, there's a new runner. Let's go get a new PB. Oh, by the way, I have a PSTV now." And I'm just like, yeah, I'm the only one who doesn't have a PSTV. If you actually do want to get seriously, I guess, in console, you do want to run in a PSTV just because it does run faster as comparing to all the other consoles. I'm running with the thickest. I'm dummy thick with my runs.
Yeah, the big boy PS3.
Oof.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, I've cut a lot of time off. Like my first PB was 118, and now I'm like doing 109. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's very good.
Just wait till she can find herself a PSTV. She's gonna come storming in.
Oh yeah.
Boys up top, better be careful.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She'll find one at a random thrift store for $10.
But yeah, I mean, I guess due to all of the attention MGS1's getting, I kind of wanted to focus the show more directly on the game, since we've talked about it a lot. Like last week, we talked about it a fair bit. Or last show, rather, not last week. The last show we talked about it a fair bit. It's always a topic of conversation because it is one of the more popular runs in the series. Very, very visible and very well known. But we haven't really actually dove into the history of the speedrun too much. Like we did a show with Limes, I think that was the 3rd episode, where we were talking about a whole storm about MGS2 and its history. But I found it's high time to start, shining the light on MGS1. So some of this information was actually compiled by friend of MGSR and the Metal Gear Solid Tasser, the Englishman, who was, I don't know if he's still doing so, but he was compiling information for a sort of world record progression style video. So I some of the information I've got is pulling from one of his drafts that he had posted to the Discord 2 years ago or so. So big thanks and shout outs to the Englishman for his work. But to start off, Metal Gear speedrunning, or Metal Gear Solid 1 speedrunning in a more specific sense, it's been around a while. I think started around 2000, 2001, 2003, somewhere in that range. But the first run that was actually had video evidence was actually completed on a Japanese leaderboard by Zeno, who scored a 136.16, and he was running on the NTSCJ original release, which is not to be confused with the integral release, which came later as sort of a greatest hits kind of thing in Japan. So his run is effectively a easy difficulty run, and he got a 136.16 way back in 2004, which 15 years we've cut that time down over a half an hour, and actually a lot of that is due in part to a couple of guys in 2013, as recently as 6 years ago. Magnum 66 and the Thrillness, which I think the Thrillness has changed his name. I'm not sure what that might be at this point in time, but those two actually completely broke the first disc of MGS1 console. And Sora, since you run console, could you run us through some of those glitches that we've been using for the past 6 years?
Okay, so the glitches that we use, the first one would be the weapons glitch. Vent glitch. That's the first thing that you do. You basically go into the armory and then go to a vent, and then you lie down, look in first person, and then you go quickly up. But as you're doing that, you're basically, how I like to explain it in my commentary is that Snake's butt is dummy thick, that it actually clips through walls. And so like, you basically clip, and then you get yourself captured, and you skip like a whole bunch of bosses that you don't need to do when you're doing any percent. And then the second glitch is, which is the hardest one, would be the weapons glitch. That's the one that can either make or break your run, depending on how well you can perform it. That's where you basically damage yourself with either a C4 or a grenade, and you basically have a seizure on the floor to confuse the game and switch your weapons from like a stinger to a chaff grenade, which is what we tend to do. And then you need to explode your stinger. And then in order for you to pass a cutscene that you're dealing with Otacon. And then you repeat that weapons glitch again with Sniper Wolf. So I think those are all the glitches that you use, if I'm correct.
It sounds about right, yeah. Mm-hmm. And the vent glitch, of course, very handy. It skips literally 5 bosses: Ocelot, the tank,
Mantis, Ninja, and Wolf 1.
Sounds like the speedrunning police is after you.
Always. But yeah.
Spilling the tea on that run.
But yeah, so the vent glitch that gets you behind the level 6 door in the first basement of the tank hangar is, the way I understand it, is that when you look up in first person, it's not just shifting your view up, it's actually moving Snake from like a horizontal to like a slope, and that gets him stuck out of bounds. And not only is it useful in console, the any percent PC run also uses that, right, Glenn?
Oh yeah, anything you can do on the console, you can do on PC. PC just has its own set of tricks that the only glitch that they have in common is the vent glitch.
Right. I know for sure after you use the vent glitch, like the rest of the game is actually like screwed up.
It's very trivial and very broken.
Yeah. And it's funny because like how I actually learned the vent glitch, there's a YouTube video. It's called What the Glitch, and they actually talked about the vent glitch, but they never really explained like what happens after. Like what happens to the game after you perform it. Like they never explain the part when you go to the comms tower B, you need to perform the weapons glitch in order for you to pass, or else you're going to be soft locked when you meet up with Otacon. So if you guys are trying to not speed run it, but try to just basically finish the game as fast as you can, like casually, it's not gonna work unless you know all the other glitches.
Yeah, the console any percent route is a very tightly knit thing. Like, you have to do things in a very specific order, or else just things won't work out in your favor. And,
the with the weapons glitch, what frustrated the most was like dealing with the boxes. Actually,
yeah.
I see many a runner have issues with those boxes, and even getting past them, you're not home free.
I call them the box bombs.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like one of the string of events after you do the weapons glitch and climb all the way up, in order to actually skip the hind D, you have to climb all the way back down, and
right.
The elevator, of course, isn't working because that story flag wasn't set ever. You skip straight past Otacon, and the story flag for the hind D is still active because the hind D is still out there buzzing around. So the elevator doesn't work, and you have to get all the way down the tower somehow. And, in order to do that, of course, you have to, as Sora calls it, defeat the box boss. And so the way the story flags kind of work is that the game knows that you have the stinger, you're on your way up to fight the hind. And then, but since you never actually had that cutscene with Otacon, it's also thinking, well, that should probably happen. So those boxes are on the ground, stacked in the 2 stacks of 2, blocking the staircase like you normally see going up. So basically, that's how the run works, is that they take advantage of that. And if you do it very specifically, if you move in a specific fashion, you can just run straight on top of those boxes from the top.
Another point to make is that like you can't really do the hind D fight because of the weapons glitch. When you explode your stinger, like it doesn't exist anymore. Like you're just screwed. So once I learned that the hard way, and I was up there and I'm like, wait, how am I supposed to do this boss fight when I don't even have a stinger anymore? I am so screwed.
Well, the other issue too is because you're skipping a couple of fights, you don't actually get the health benefit right away. So when you pick up the stinger, it's 0 out of 0. You're not meant to have that item because of the number of flags you've actually set off and which flags you've set off. So the game is just like, oh, you can't use this. You can have it in your inventory, but you just can't use it.
Right.
So even if you could, you couldn't because you wouldn't be able to use it.
Right.
But all these things were found in early, very, very early 2013, like January. And in, I believe it was March of that year, a name we're all very, very familiar with around here, Slade, put all of this together, and not only did he do these tricks, he actually did it on Extreme, and he got the big boss rank with it.
Didn't he do it on PAL?
I believe he may have, actually, yeah.
Let me check.
I'm not sure if that run is actually on the board, but it was a 110.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah, it was a 110-10 big boss rank, any percent. Which back then, actually, little bit of trivia for those who might be new to the community, new to the MGS speedrunning in general, is the any percent category actually used to go by a different name entirely. So after these were found, we had two categories from MGS1. We had all bosses and large skips. Now, I can't remember when. I think it was 2-3 years ago. Plywood actually had the idea and posited it to the board mods that should instead be called any percent, and that's how we got where we are today.
It was around the time he did his AGDQ run in 2017.
Yeah, okay.
That was around the time they got the name changed from large skips to any percent.
Right.
It kind of makes sense. I mean, there's like a lot of runs that are out there that also they would just call it any percent instead of large skips.
Right.
I think it's just the simplicity of the word itself.
Well, not only that, but it also fits in with like speedrunning lingo at large as well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right.
For sure.
You just say, "Oh, I do MGS1 large skips." They go, oh, "Okay, is there an any percent category to run?" And then you go, "Well, no, the any percent category is basically large skips and blah blah blah."
Yeah.
At that point, you may as well have just called it that to begin with, but I digress.
I do have some people from my channel that does question like how come there's a difference between like there's a category between console and versus PC, and I have told them that the PC version is a little bit different than the console, but like then people are also saying that like then how come there's like several different other consoles in like the leaderboard? There's like the PS TV, the PS3, the PS2, and the PS1, and I'm like, I'm not the one who's in charge of that. Like,
Go ahead.
The most important distinction about the PC versus the console separation is that not only are there PC-specific glitches and techniques for the speedrun, but also, like, even simpler than that, PC can just straight up skip codecs with the press of a button.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah,
you don't have to button mash for that. You just basically press a button and it's automatically done.
You push start, push escape, easy peasy, done.
Yeah,
and then after that, like there's other glitches that is specifically made for the PC and not for the consoles.
Yeah, so Glenn, since we're on the topic, why don't you go walk us through some of that?
So basically, the run starts off exactly the same as console. You go in, do the tank hanger, go down, do the vent glitch, hello, level 6 door, blah, blah, blah. And then after that is where it gets a little tricky. From the moment you grab the PSG-1, you have access to what's called God Mode Exploit, or GME. And basically what that is you're taking advantage of the hotkeys that the PC version is very kind enough to provide us with. And during the crouch and prone animation, Snake has iframes. So we interrupt that iframe with a hotkey to any other weapon, and then you just have infinite iframes from there on out. You can use that to avoid bullets, kicks, the lasers in the armory, if you do it right. And you can go out of bounds with this. You can skip a couple of codecs with this that are actually useful to skip. It's actually pretty crazy how broken it can get.
Yeah. Yeah, and the out of bounds thing specifically is one of the more fascinating things to me, because I don't know quite the reasoning behind it, but the GME trick legitimately just straight up breaks load zones if like the door leading to them is open and you do it like right in front of the door. I don't quite get that, I guess.
I feel like iframes are just kind of a absence of a hitbox on your model, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling like there's something in the code that basically reads, if Snake's hitbox hits this particular point on the map, then load area X.
Right.
Hmm.
But yeah, one of the more fascinating... Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say like the PC version was made poorly as comparing to the console version, right? Like
Very much so. Yeah.
There were only maybe a handful of people working on that.
Yeah.
I mean, shout outs to Square Blood.
Shout outs to Square Blood. But yeah, no, it's night and day. Like some of the cutscenes don't even work. Like the real time footage cutscenes don't even bother. They're all broken.
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
And there's a couple of other things like music in the blast furnace specifically it loops poorly because and Plywood told this story at one of his GDQ runs, the one where he ran PC. But the game, the developers of the PC port actually couldn't get the actual files from Konami, even though this was an officially licensed Konami development, which blows my mind. But essentially, they had to, yeah, essentially they had to find a way and essentially pirate the music, and the blast furnace. It's especially noticeable. But
I feel like when the port was being made, since it was technically going to be another release of the game, I feel like they had to go out and purchase the copyright in order to use it, and just didn't.
Right.
So, like, if you go south of the blast furnace where the Stinger missiles are and that extra chaff, you can see it. It just doesn't loop. It actually reloads the music.
Yeah,
I believe.
But
or maybe I have it backwards.
But speaking about the blast furnace, what I was going to say is that one of the most fascinating uses of GME is to break one of the load zones to swap the camera. Like, it's not even a load zone between areas, but you break the load zone to swap the camera over, and it completely breaks collision for the rest of the stuff in the blast furnace up until the door.
Yep, it just kind of makes them sprites instead of models, and they're non-existent. You just walk right through them.
Yeah, and that's one of the more fascinating tiny. It's not even that big overall in comparison. I mean, yeah, you're skipping sidling along the wall with the crane on it, but it's not that big of a time save comparatively to
not
like
anymore.
Some of the other things. Yeah, but it's just one of those fascinating things that GME does to the game.
Even the game itself, in that out of bounds state, it's one of those games where if you reach the end of the map, you teleport to the other side, and that's taken full advantage of in two areas specifically: the cave and the underground tunnel going in front of the comm tower.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, whoa, what just happened?
But yeah, MGS1 speedrunning has certainly come a very long way from where it began back in, like, whenever it even was, like 2001 maybe. I
don't know, because it's one of those games where you'll see a lot of crap for skipping cutscenes if you stream it. There's a lot of people out there that if they see you're streaming it and they see that you're skipping the cutscenes, they're like, oh, you're skipping the cutscenes. But it's like, if you're going for Big Boss, which requires you to do so, aren't those speedruns then by definition?
Very, very technically, yes. Which I guess we should bring up the requirements for a Big Boss run, since that's most of the activity that's been happening recently.
Let's see here.
That's not my topic. That's too hot to handle for me.
Does Raichu have it up here? Because I don't even remember them anymore.
So
I know the kills and the amount of time you have, and you have one ration.
Yeah, you have to do it under 3 hours. No kills, or sorry, no continues. No, you can save, I think, but no continues.
I think there's a save limit.
One ration, and 25 kills on top of four maximum alerts.
So here.
It's fairly strict.
Yep, here we go. Beat the game on extreme. Finish the game in 3 hours or less. No continues. 1 or less rations. 25 kills or less, and 14 times found or less. Or 4, excuse me, not 14.
Yeah, 4 alerts.
And they're all 4, except for 1.
With extreme and doing Big Boss, like, do you have to be really precise with your movements, right?
Fairly.
Within reason, yes.
Yeah.
You can get away with a little bit, and I believe in Rex's hangar specifically, there's a new strat where you do make a sound and the guard sees you, but the way the alerts work, unless the guard says who's that, it doesn't count. Which is very fascinating that we found out. I think that's also fairly recent.
Yeah, and in general, like MGS1 has a more lenient big boss than say 2 or 3. Because Metal Gear 1 and 2, I believe, both had result screens with rankings on them, but MGS1 kind of started the crackdown, started making it, hey, you have to do it this way or else this is just not going to work for you.
Mm-hmm.
And MGS2 and 3 took it a step further and made it actually fairly difficult, depending on who you ask, of course.
I don't know. I think it does depend on who you ask. If you were to ask, say me, I would say 2 is a lot harder, strictly because you only get 7 saves throughout the whole game. You get 7 saves.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, if you're gonna save, you want to do it like after a boss or right before a boss, which is the way I personally did it when I was maybe 14, 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just kind of like, this game, there's a lot to this game, and you could go 20 minutes without another boss fight, in which case do you sack the save and just go, or, what do you do?
Right.
Not to mention, Raiden's made of paper, so Tengu fights are annoying as a casual.
Yeah.
So.
But, yeah, let me see here, filter out some things. So, in the oldest run on the board for speedrun.com is 4 years ago. It might have been done before that, but it was submitted 4 years ago, I believe. And that was Sephiroth with a 103.34 big boss. And since then, we've had several other runs on the Extreme board alone, not to mention the huge influx of people who run the easy category, Sora, you and I.
Yes.
I don't have an exact count, but it looks to be about 14 different runs, not including PBs and such. So the game has certainly seen a lot of attention in general over the years. I don't think quite as much as MGS2 has gotten.
Yeah.
But it's still more popular than MGS3 or 4. That's for sure.
I want to say that I really wish that it was accepted, but J-Rock the God, he made an interesting run, because like, if you guys don't know who J-Rock is the guy who actually he speeds runs, but he puts a little bit of a twist into it. He plays with his feet. Like, he has like workable hands. It's just that sometimes maybe why won't you just try using your other limbs? And I spoke to him at GDQ, and he's just like, he just wanted to do a challenge, and now it became his thing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I really wanted to see that run in person or like on stream. Unfortunately, that didn't happen because GDQ didn't accept his run, but it was still interesting enough to like I don't know, that's like a new I want some more fun challenges, like my weird challenge of speedrunning with an oven mitt.
And a bucket on your head.
And a bucket on my head.
Yeah, J-Rock,
I did that for charity.
Definitely does some interesting speedruns, and I did ask him about that. I did see him. He was doing a 12-hour challenge run for Sonic Adventure 2, and I said, well, why do you play with your feet? He goes, it's just the way I choose to play the games. And I went, okay, that's pretty cool. And he was trying to do the skip that they call CGSS, where you just fall out of Crazy Gadget and touch the goal ring, to put it pretty simply. But he was trying to do that all with his feet, and I'm just sitting here like, this guy is either amazingly talented or he's crazy, or a little bit of both. I never did get to check out his normal run. That he actually has that run on the PC board, and I would imagine he doesn't do GME or anything. I think he just did, just straight up ran the game.
Yeah, he runs the PC version of Metal Gear, right? Or
it's just so he can get his fight stick.
Okay.
I think because that's how he plays with his feet. He has a fight stick. He puts it on the floor and just goes. But
I don't know. He showed me when I met him up in person. He showed me like doing it with the PS4 controller, and I was like, "What?"
Wait, what? That's amazing. Let's see if
he did like a live demonstration with me, and I'm just like,
here it is. I got it. It's got a 43.52. This was earlier this year, and the comment on the run is, "And I didn't even have to lift a finger."
The puns. That's so good.
But yeah, he's pretty talented in what he does.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But hey, speaking of marathons, Sora.
Hi.
You have a marathon run just next month for No Reset at DreamHack Montreal, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So how are you feeling about that, huh?
Very nervous. Python was actually there during my process of actually like submitting my run. I tried doing it live in my stream and then just like edit it later. But for me, like I can't really turn off like my brain of like trying to entertain people because like people are asking me questions and they're doing jokes and I'm here trying to like tell how the run works and there's just like I don't know, just constant jokes and I'm like but sorry, what was I saying? Yeah, I recorded myself off stream and it only took me like 2 tries. I want to say that like first it was kind of like the first couple of things was kind of weird. Cuz like just getting the part where just starting off was just hard, but once you get the ball rolling, like everything is a little bit like fine.
It flows.
It comes more naturally.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I definitely think it's one of those things that you get better at it the more you do it.
Yeah. I know for sure when I get to DreamHack that I'm gonna have a friend there who's also Catlink, who also speedruns. Well, used to speedrun Metal Gear too. But she's very well experienced in like the whole marathon and being on couches and stuff like that. So yeah.
It's probably pretty helpful.
Well,
but like I do have like I have my jokes. I slip in a little bit of jokes in there. Like I talk about snakes dummy thick ass. Alerting the guards.
But also in marathon news, Glenn, you had one last week?
Yep, we had one for the 4th iteration of Speedrun to Change the World where we tried to have Python commentate, but Mother Nature had other plans.
Yeah.
So,
if anyone hasn't experienced lightning within 10 feet of them, you haven't experienced life.
Oh my. It's a scary thought, man.
Was interesting. But yeah, Glenn, from what I saw, it was an okay run.
Yeah, the run started off kind of rocky and ended kind of rocky, but everything in between, which is more execution than you would think, went pretty solidly. So I am not dishappy with that run.
Right.
Or unhappy with that run. But I'm 0 for 3 on the docks. In marathon runs.
One of these
spotted.
One of these days, Glenn, you'll get out of the docks spotlessly.
I hope so. Because if you didn't know, there's a part where the guard comes down the back elevator, and if you didn't kill any of the guards, there is a small chance that the other one can see you, even if you've done it right. According, I guess D-Limes had actually said something to me afterwards that I did it late. Whatever. But it's definitely something I will look at and going forward take an adjustment to, because in a marathon run you want to do the entertaining thing that you can still do, and everyone likes when you mess with that guard for whatever reason.
I tend to make fun of Johnny in my run. What other jokes do I do in there? I talk about like how everyone's just really scared of me, like how Psycho Mantis just turns into a bookshelf, or like how Sniper Wolf didn't really like my charming snake dance, so she just like told me to go.
Like, oh, screw this, and just nope. We don't want anything to do with you. You go right on ahead. But Raven's the only one who has the courage to try and face you. And whether you're on PC or console, you break it, and he just dies. You use the Nikita on the console. We use grenades on the PC version, completely ignoring the kernel's advice. It's great.
Well, in certain difficulties, you can straight up just tank damage and use grenades on consoles as well.
Yeah, easy is one of them, and normal you can do it as well, I believe, if you have the rations to spare.
I believe so, yeah.
You want to have about like 3 or 4 rations on you when you're doing the grenade strat. If you have less than 2, then you're better off with the Nikita. There's like, I mean, you can always pick up a ration before the boss battle fights, which I always do. And then if you're still like low on ration, you can always go to the top right corner. There's a ration that's hanging around over there, but that also like just wastes time. But it really depends, like what your strat is, and I don't know. Yeah.
And of course, we would be remiss without mentioning that Glenn, when you're taking that 5 seconds back off a tromboncino.
I don't know, man. Jag's got.
Oh, that's right.
Evidence, at least. I don't know if he's got it recorded or not.
That's right.
He's got a 39:23 now, so now it's 10 seconds. I gotta.
Ooh.
It's doable. The issue's gonna be free time, basically. Which I'll only have a couple of weeks here, and then between work is more or less 4 days. So, but something I want to go for, because competition's always fun. So, and Trom is always big competition. Jag's always big competition.
Plywood.
So Plywood's good competition. When he's coming back to PC.
Copper only does console, right?
Yeah, Copper's a console runner, yeah.
He's a purist, basically.
I don't know, man. It's an emulated run.
Oh.
So Copper has a PSTV. Copper has a PSTV.
He does,
but he is not running official firmware. Is the thing.
So is that what it is? So it's qualified as an emulator. Okay, that's a thing.
Yeah, but like if you're running on emulator, there's like there's one individual I knew prior to having a PSTV. He used to run on emulator, and like when you categorize yourself, it said emulated, but when it comes to a PSTV, it's a PSTV. So
it's official Sony software and firmware, I believe, is the distinction.
Yes, yeah.
When's the classic going to be on the board? When's the PlayStation Classic? I want to see that.
Whenever someone complete a run of it.
Whenever somebody actually manages to finish the game in a single setting.
Because I know Plywood is actually trying to complete a run. If he managed to do so, would you think that he's actually going to put it on the board just for jokes?
I don't know. I don't know if his plan
on like 2 spots, because I know his name pops up in Silent Hill, and he has 2 places, because one of the runs is on PC and the other one is on Xbox. And so,
yeah, I don't know if his plan is to actually run the game on PS Classic or if he's just trying to do like a semi-casual play sort of thing.
Okay.
If I remember right, it's just kind of a milestone for him to actually do it. So he got like 50 subs recently, I think, and that was, you know, nice. Hey, let's celebrate by doing this very, very broken PlayStation Classic run. And it's not broken in the sense that, say, PC or the speedrun is basically. It's broken in the sense where it just crashes randomly. Yeah. A couple of weeks back, D-Limes actually tried to do it in one sitting, and he did. The issue is it crashed, I think, several times. So I don't know if it's the PlayStation Classic that just can't handle the game or what, but I've heard whispers from some people you may as well just run it on a Raspberry.
Oh.
Yeah, the way I hear it is that it's a poorly optimized ROM, basically.
Oof.
That's the way I've heard it explained. And I think it was Plywood who said that too.
But, I've heard the whole thing described as a glorified emulator for PlayStation 1 games, which is fair. It's pretty much what the classics are. The classic series is just...
It's a nice looking, little emulator. It's pretty, but it doesn't perform well. It tries its best, so, it's the little PlayStation it can.
I mean, I think the best part about the PlayStation Classic is the controller.
Yeah, you're getting it at the moment. If you can still find it, it's like $20. You get 2 very, very nice feeling USB controllers that are, they look just like and feel just like the old PlayStation 1 controller.
I think
they work great. They plug and play.
And they work on PC.
They do work on the PC version. D-Limes actually tested it, and he ended up with a swing and miss where the D-pad wouldn't work correctly. But when I did it at someone else's house, it worked fine. D-Limes then took it to his work computer, got the same result, and then he took it back home and got the same result again. It did work just fine. What happened the first time he tried it, I have no idea.
Short circuit, maybe?
We're not sure. It could be the controller. I don't know if he used the same controller, but basically at the moment, I would describe the PlayStation Classic is a glorified paperweight that comes with 2 very nice controllers and an HDMI cable.
Yay, more HDMI cables!
I mean, who couldn't use more HDMI cables, honestly?
I have a shelf full of HDMI cables.
I've got a nice drawer. I've got maybe a dozen or so now.
I think all just near me right now there are about 5. Just plugged into specific various things. Like I have 3 connected to a splitter, 1 to my monitor. There's one behind the wall here. I wanted to count that.
HDMI is the way to go for picture, apparently.
I mean, yeah, except so I recently picked up a PS2 and I would love to get an upscaler, but I think the way I'm going to do it is SD capture.
I mean, the way
I have one.
Remind me to recommend you one. I'll recommend the one I use. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but it does work. I use it to run Twin Snakes or Fusion, so I'll get you that when I can.
Neat.
It only cost me like $18 with shipping, so it's a little cheapo.
So,
ooh.
I think that's about the topics we had for this show, unless you guys have something else you'd like to bring up.
No, I think we covered a good basis of it.
We covered you were learning PAL before, so that was your first Metal Gear console run, which was fun.
That was a good time.
Yeah, that was, oh my god. There was actually something, we learned something, the difference between PAL and Integral, about the key card.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
To explain, so I'll tell you from what I know in terms of like a regular speed run with my integral run, when you need to change your PAL keys, obviously you need to go to different rooms. Like you need to go into the cold room and then the hot room, and it only takes you about a minute and a second for you to change it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like that in PAL, actually.
So the PAL version of MGS1 runs at a very crisp 25 frames a second on a 50 hertz. So not only does the game actually run slower, like as a whole, it feels sluggish. It runs pretty horridly, but it also changes the timers. So when you're in the warehouse or when you're in the blast furnace changing the card key colors, it doesn't take a minute and a second. It takes closer to about a minute and 20.
Oof.
So just another reason why if you're playing the PAL version and you're trying to speedrun it, don't.
So frame counter, right?
For a while though, we did call Python the king of Europe.
I mean, I still have the fastest recorded time on the PAL version, unless Apache has a better PAL time than I do.
I don't know. Maybe I'll do one just for funsies.
I mean, hey, why not? Really, join the meme the meme dream team.
I mean, I did do the whole like running with that was hard with oven mitts.
What?
Okay, so
what did I miss out on?
I did a charity run. It was basically raising money for mental health. Because
Right.
it was anyways, and one of the incentive is if like you donate or sub or anything of that sort, I would spin a wheel, and one of them was the oven mitts. So I'm basically handicapped and I'm wearing oven mitts and I'm playing the game. Some people were really shocked, and I was even really shocked about doing the quick throw.
Yeah,
because it's not easy. But
no, because your thumb has quadrupled in size and you have this really weird motion for the trigger and the buttons. It's like, no, I can't.
I was like playing like this the whole entire time just to show off that I actually am playing with oven mitts.
Oh my gosh, that sounds awful.
And then add to that, mashing was really, really hard. Like I was trying to figure out what was the best way of mashing, and it just looked like I was punching my controller in the end.
I just thought about it, and I would go like this with my thumb and just do it that way.
Okay, so my first tactics was punching it, and then my second one was just how. Oh yeah, I was like shaking it like this. Like...
Oh my gosh.
Did I finish the run though? I did finish the run.
She did.
I finished it several times.
I think she beat my I think she beat my PAL time. So, I mean, that's fairly incredible. So, you know, just
can we just use your PAL time at this point as the benchmark?
The sad part is that run was actually pretty decent, and it's still a 118.
It's still faster than these first runs that we're seeing as 136.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the other PAL runs are over 120. So
I looked at those runs and like they could have done better, especially with the weapons glitch or trying to get on top of the box, because that's, like I said, it can make or break your run. Like if you can do it first try, that's going to make your run. If you can't, then chances are
you're in trouble.
Right.
As far as time wise.
And it's very easy to just clamber straight over the boxes and end up back on the other side.
Right.
So easy.
Yeah.
Or the other thing too is you don't move up immediately like you're supposed to, fall straight down into the elevator and you're stuck there.
Yeah.
I think I watched Jag do that the other day, like last week.
Yeah, I remember sometimes I just end up in like the second floor and I'm like, no. There's also the issue of like sometimes you don't even know when to cook your stinger / your chaff stinger. And like I've noticed some people, they tend to like, they hesitate themselves. Like they either go a step back before like the cutscene triggers or not. So yeah, I have a visual cue as to when I actually cook my chaff stinger, but some people don't know that.
Yeah.
Have to look at that then.
But the incredible challenge runs aside, I think we say this just about every show, but if you're thinking about getting into Metal Gear speedrunning, just do it. It's pretty easy to break into some of these games, and they're a whole lot of fun. If you enjoyed them casually, it's definitely worth getting into the speedrun. And of course, I'm legally obligated. I cannot leave this show without once mentioning MetalGearSpeedrunners.com, your one-stop source for all of our information, for community info, for our wiki, for strategies for pretty much every game up till Acid 2, which is actually being worked on. Maybe even as we speak, it's being worked on by Copper Tank.
We got Ghost Babel, we got
Pioneer.
What other games do we have? We even have Survive.
Oh yeah,
Survive's on there now. Yeah, Plywood dove deep into the Survive madness.
There's also, I mean, there's Python who's into it now.
Yeah. I mean, casually or speedrun?
I've finally finished my casual playthrough. So I've been tooling around in the post game a little bit here and there, and in fact, earlier today, Plywood and I were playing the co-op. Which, by the way, Plywood has reinstalled the game, but I'm 99% sure he's not going to be doing another run with it. But yeah, he and I were playing a little earlier. In fact, he was getting a little mad at my drop rate, which is apparently incredible.
I mean, here's the thing: is there local multiplayer co-op on that game?
I don't think so. No.
Oof! I was gonna say next time y'all are in the same area, just do co-op runs. Screw it.
I think the newest Metal Gear speedrun that's left to conquer would have to be the Pachinko machine.
Well, Acid 2 and Pachi Slot and Metal Gear Touch for the
mobile phones. Yeah.
For the iPod.
Yeah, that was an iPhone thing.
What about the End Gear?
Nope, we don't talk about it. That doesn't exist.
Okay.
It's a topic for another day. Preferably away from Python, apparently.
It's not good. But yeah, MetalGearSpeedrunners.com. It's got your links to this Twitch channel, which, in case you're listening to it afterward on YouTube, Spotify, Podbean, or Anchor.fm, we run this show live on twitch.tv/MetalGearSpeedrunners. Also, like I said, you can find it on the website. It's got a link to the YouTube channel, where we have posted some marathon highlights, as well as every show we've done so far for the disc swap. It's got our wiki. It's got a nice little blog full of neat little posts.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's overall a fantastic resource, and we hope to see more people using it. Yeah. Big thanks to our technical unit, Roy, Chuza, and the rest of the guys. Toast was the name I was specifically thinking of, that I didn't want to be rude and forget. But yeah, anything else from you guys?
I was just gonna say, we need more female Metal Gear speedrunners.
Fair, yeah, true, absolutely.
Come one, come all.
But
whoa, you're a chick and you run Metal Gear?
Colonel.
Meryl, I need you.
That's a can of worms for another time and another place.
Probably not here.
So on behalf of Sora and Metal Glen Solid, thank you guys for hanging out with us for the show. We hope to see you next time. We hope the next time will actually be 2 weeks from now, like we were trying to do before. But we'll see how it goes. We'll keep you notified. In case you are not aware, we have our Twitter at MG Speedrunners on now under new management from one of our staff members, Iridescence. So follow that. Get updates on things we're doing here in the community. And past that, everyone, have yourselves a great night.